Hold on a second.
No, we have
Find the boy. We're not in trouble.
It's ridiculous. Roll.
Thank you.
Ready?
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. First thing I'd like to do is introduce our new logo. This is for the anniversary of our 250 year of the nation. And so we have a new logo for this year only. Next year, we'll go back to our old logo, but this one is special to represent the new year. And we have so many visitors today. I would like everyone would just stand and tell us your name. Kind of get you introduced.
Start right here.
So,
Harriet Martin, Mary Dawn Bixby, Marie Blair,
Earl Blair,
Bonita Mangrum,
Susan Driver,
Frida Clifton, Rachel O'Connor, Cassidy Bell.
Travis Bell and Mrs. Carson Bell.
Teresa.
Larry Boyd.
Bill Smallman.
Lynette Moore,
I'm Karen Young.
Toby Smith,
Bobby Bond.
Dwayne Howard. Porter McGregor.
Teresa Hyatt,
Alan Gooch, and visiting here from the Rutherford County Historical Society.
Yeah.
Rutherford County Historical Society. Historical Society. Maybe one of these days, Warren County.
Anytime, yes.
Warren First Nazarene Gilmore Slaughter,
Okay.
William Taft,
Richard Myers.
Karen Taft Hastings,
And
Dale Woodley,
Bob Bates.
Mary Oaks.
And Brown. I think we just had two just walk in.
Two or three more just walked in. Would you give us your names?
Tom Davis.
Steve Davis.
Okay.
Ricky Jones.
Okay, thank you all so much. And we will get started with, Bob is going to read the minutes from the December meeting. Well, actually, November meeting.
Okay.
December, we didn't have a meeting.
November 15th. Call to order was, the members' meeting was called to order at 2 p.m. in the early voting room at the Warren County Admin Building by President Mary Oaks with 21 members and visitors in attendance. The minutes, the October 2025 members' minutes were read by Barbara Bates. There were no changes or additions, and the minutes were approved after a first motion by Gail Woodley and a second by Marie Blair. Treasurer's report. Ann Brown, the October Treasurer's report. Beginning balance, $15,581.50. Total income, $326.27. Total expenses, $187.33. Net revenue, $187.33. Ending balance, $15,768.83. Membership, Ann Brown reported one new member, Mary Stubblefield Kogel. We have 122 members. Program, Betty Pack provided the following schedule: December 5th, Christmas social, January 17th, show and tell. Publicity, Frida Clifton reported members' meeting notice has been sent The podcast on Warren County is a hit, and it's fun to listen to. Research. Benita Manger reported 7 visitors researching in October. List is published in the newsletter. Office. Evelyn Wade reported a total of 236 and a quarter volunteer hours for October. Contributions. Mary Oaks provided a list of contributions for the month, which can be viewed in the monthly newsletter or on the webpage. The bulletin. The bulletins are in and will be distributed. We will be focusing on Revolutionary War soldiers who were born, lived, or died in Warren County. Newsletter. Susan Driver. The newsletter is out. Thanks to everyone who sent in articles or pictures for the newsletter. The webpage, Facebook, Ann Brown. Newsletter will be on the webpage and shared to the Facebook. Pioneer Family, Marie Blair. We have approved certificates through number 208. Some are gifts and are not being given and named publicly. Betty Pack will receive 4 certificates at the December meeting. Lucas Holt is getting a certificate for Thomas Brown, his 5th great-grandfather. Evelyn Wade is getting a certificate for her 2 daughters, for Major James Tate, their 5th grandfather. Ann Brown is getting 3 certificates, one for herself, for her 4th great-grandfather, and one each for her 2 half-brothers. Bonita is getting 2 certificates as gifts. Old business. Christmas program has been set for Saturday, December 6th at 11:30 in the Magnolia Room. It will be catered by Helen's on the Green and will cost $20 per person. Mary Don will host a McMinnville trivia game, and Mary Oaks will bring Christmas music. New business. There were no new nominations for board members. We encourage anyone to volunteer for helping the board and learning more about the association. The nominating committee recommended all 2025 board members and committee heads maintain their current positions for 2026. Marie Blair made a motion to approve the recommended officers with a second by Susan Driver. The recommendation was approved. List of officers is attached. Respectfully submitted, Barbara Bates.
Okay, are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Could I have a motion to accept the minutes? Okay, Mary Don, seconded,
I'll second it.
Frida. Okay, Frida. Okay, treasurer's report, Ann.
Okay, I just normally on the January thing, just do a summary for the year for 2025. Our interest income for both our money market and our CD was $471.17. We had contributions of $599.50. Our membership dues were $26.25. Service fees $52.50. We received $360 from the Pioneer Family Program and $822.11 from book sales and publications. Our total revenue for the year was $4,930.28. Our expenses, $30 for advertising, bank charges, $21.69, business registration fees, $20.46, facilities and equipment was $649.99, equipment rental is $106, bulletin cost $1,542.44, postage $59, and the resource library $49.90, and supplies $892.06 for total expenses of $3,371.54. Our net revenue for the year was $1,558.74. We have $100 in cash on hand, $9,396.25 in money market, and $5,561.74 in CD. Our total is $15,057.99. Are there any questions?
Okay, membership, Ann?
Well, we had no new members and we're holding at 122. So the end of February, we kick off our 2026 membership drive. Last year, we had 138 members. So we're hoping to get that membership back up. So if you haven't joined, please consider that's the biggest part of our operating comes from our membership fees.
Okay, Betty Pack programs.
Day is show and tell. Next month, we will have Nicole Ridland. She's the general manager and tour guide at Cumberland Caverns. Her program will be on the history of Cumberland Caverns and other caves. Keeping with our celebration of America 250 in March, we will have Susan Ackerman, regent of the Lieutenant James Shepherd chapter of the DAR. And later this year, we will have someone from the Sons of the American Revolution. And Bob Bates, I think, is going to help us with that.
I'm on the spot now.
Okay, publicity, Rita.
All is well. I got a harvest deck right at Main Street, I get them all confused. And now we have a new contact there, Seth Griffin, who will see to it that our information gets on the calendar.
Okay, thank you. Bonita.
Well, December was a short month because it wasn't open the whole month. We only had two that filled out the form. And on 15th, James Gwynn was working on the Magnus house and Sam left with you. And on the 19th, James R. Clark was working on Warren County High School films of 1998.
Okay, Evelyn isn't here. Did
I have her.
you have hers? Okay, Evelyn.
She has 99 and 3/4 hours turned in.
Okay, and contributions. We had two postcard photos of the city drugstore from Bill Stewart. Those are in the photo archive. And a book, Civil War, Strange and Fascinating Facts, is in the research library. History of Charles Creek Baptist Church, 2 copies, and a ribbon from 1875 to 2025 was donated by Debbie Allen. Caney Fork Electric 85th anniversary calendar. We have a copy of that in our file. And Stubblefield, Bonner, King, Locke, and related families of Warren County, Tennessee went to the Warren County Archives, and that was donated by Daryl Norris. That's our contributions. Bulletin, and
Well, as Bob noted in their minutes, our bulletins this year are going to focus on our Revolutionary War soldiers who lived or died in Warren County. So we'll probably do half of them in the first issue and the other half in the second issue. So we're working diligently, but if you have an ancestor who was in the Revolutionary War, who was in here in Warren County, be sure to give us a shout, make sure we've got them on our list.
okay, newsletter, Susan.
Well, this is a good time of year to get in and dig through your archive, your research, whatever you have at home, since you may be a little more confined due to the weather. We're always looking for new articles to put in our newsletter to share with all our membership. So I hope you will consider that.
Webpage, yeah.
Well, I'm actually having a problem with their webpage, so the newsletter, it's not up there. I hope to get that resolved this week.
Okay, project reports, Pioneer Families, Marie. Okay, go.
Don't do your presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, our committee met on January the 9th, 2026, and we approved 2 certificates. One was for William White Sr., who is the ancestor, and his descendant is Terry Bell. And we have Terry Bell's family here. He had to be out of state due to a death in the family. So Terry's son, daughter-in-law, granddaughter, and daughter are here to accept the certificate for Terry. And then we approved a second certificate, and it's for Don Luttrell. And Don Luttrell is my first cousin, and he turned 82 yesterday, lives in Arizona. So Gail and I are going to accept the certificate, and we're hopefully going to FaceTime him and tell him all about it and mail him the packet. So if Terry's family would like to come up here, and I'll tell you a little bit about the certificates. No, I don't have them.
You don't have
Get 'em.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I'll just be telling you about Captain White. Captain White was at the first time that the Circuit Court of Warren County convened, and it was in the new brick courthouse that he got the contract to build. And that was in 1811, and that courthouse was located in the park, not exactly where the one is now. But Captain White was on the 1812 tax list for Warren County. And when he came to Warren County in 1810 or so, McMinnville had just been organized in 1810. Of course, Warren County became a county in 1807, but the county seat was named in 1810. He was born in Granville, North Carolina in 1750, which I looked up where Granville County is, and it borders Virginia, and it's in the north central part of North Carolina. And the county seat is Oxford, if you're interested in that little tidbit. Captain White married Bathia Lynn, Lyne, and they had 9 children, which I'm not going to read all that off. But Captain White served in the Revolutionary War, probably in North Carolina, but he lived here in Warren County until he died, and he's buried in the old city cemetery. But when he came, he probably had in mind that he was just going to bring his slaves and his workers and build the courthouse and go back to North Carolina. But he must have found that the people and the place in Warren County was so beautiful that he decided to stay. And he built initially a place down on the corner where the Chamber of Commerce office is now. And that's where it was on lot number 2, and it was in the southwest corner of the public square. And it was a 2-story affair. It encompassed a supply room, a tavern, an inn, slave quarters, and workers' quarters. And eventually he brought his family here, and that's where they lived. So he died on June 28, 1816. And tradition says that the funeral was held in the courtroom that he had built with an overflow crowd. And again, like I said, he's buried in the old city cemetery down on High Street. And there's information on the bulletin board over here and the state of his tombstone. And it's broken now, I'm sorry to say, but that's what it did look like, and that's what it looks like now. And in the center is a tribute to him that is located on Find a Grave that tells about some of his battles. So, now, if the Bell family will come here. Okay, now tell me your first name again. Travis Bell, and he is Terry's son, daughter-in-law, and Rachel, Terry's daughter. Terry has 3 sons and then had Rachel. So I don't know if he saved the best for last or what. Anyway, and this is Carson, and I'm very sure that Terry is very proud of her because I've had lots of conversations with him about his grandchildren. So anyway, we're going to give this certificate to Travis.
Just like it from.
That is perfect.
Oh, my boy.
She just doesn't know about all this. You were a good girl. Now, I tell you that we have to take this back from him because Terry always signs the certificates as the county executive.
Yeah.
And of course, we didn't get his certificate because our intention was for this to be a surprise today. He was invited to the meeting, but there's a death in the family and he had to take his in-laws to Florida, I believe. So we gave him a rain check. Another meeting, but Travis was gonna accept the certificate for him. So anyway, we'll make sure he gets it when he gets back. Thank y'all a lot.
Thank you.
And then the second certificate, okay. The second certificate is the one for our cousin. And we are, have already, the first certificate that I ever got for a pioneer ancestor was John Wood. And I have that certificate laying over there with some other pioneer ancestor certificates. And I have put the line of descent in case you don't recognize the name John Woodley. He lived up in the North Cuts Cove area and he's buried in the Armstrong Cemetery. So anyway, but my sister is Gail and she's going to accept the certificate. And then, like I said, we're going to mail it to our cousin who turned 82 yesterday. And Gail, look this way. There you go. There you go. Sorry. Okay. Okay, and I want to say, and I want to say that our goal for this year is certificate to get to the number 250. And we just issued certificate number 210. So we need to do 40 certificates this year. And there's several documents laying over there, the 1820 Warren County Census, the list of people, an alphabetized list who signed the petition for Warren County. There's when it was the bicentennial, there was a different program and a list of the people that got certificates for that program is over there. And we're going to have volunteers in the office on Mondays and Fridays to help you if you want to get started. And there's a very simple ancestry chart over there if you want to pick one up, and it starts out with you. So even if you don't know how to research, you know your name, I hope. And it has for you to talk to your parents. It has a place for your parents, your grandparents. And if you could start that, and if you, the further back you know, or if there's older people in your family, if you could talk to them and get as much as you can and then come in, we'll try to connect you to one of Warren County's pioneers. And that means the people who lived here or on land between 1807 and 1820. So please help us, 250 for 250.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Bob. And that's Bonita's and it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, do we have any old business? Anybody have anything they'd like to bring up for old business? Okay, then we'll go on to new business.
Well, the Revolutionary War Project, which I think we pretty much covered, so I think we just skip that and go right to show and tell.
Okay, show and tell.
Ready?
We are ready. We could
First one,
maybe move over there.
Okay.
reflect. I think there's been enough of it. I'm trying to take over the show.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Marie.
Well, what I brought for show and tell is a lap quilt. And these, the pieces on here are my mother's dresses. And I've never made a quilt, but Gail and I worked on this for about 5 or 6 years. She has one too. All these pieces in here are pieces of her dress. And so we made it into just a lap blanket. And when we look at it, she passed away in 2007 at the age of 92. And she always wore just house dresses, cotton dresses around the house. So all these pieces are pieces of her dresses. And when we look at it, we remember her, seeing her in that dress or whatever. But we had it machine quilted because we thought that it took us so long to get it together that we might be too old by the time we ever got it quilted. We didn't know how. So anyway, it lives in this one lives in my den. Gail has one. We did too. But it lives in my den, and when I'm watching TV or feeling a little cool, I put this over me. So.
It's great. Yeah, it is.
Are we laying our stuff in?
Yeah.
Okay, no more of me.
Donita.
Well, give me a minute. Get up here. Get over here. I can show you. You all know how I love to read deeds. I've read deeds for years and years. I started with the 1814 AD book, went through Z, and now I'm up to book 218, which is 1978. Well, you never know what you're going to find recorded in those deed books. Last week, I found a chart where this woman, and no deeds with, just a chart of all her 32 descendants, Elizabeth Todd. This week, I found a 1820s land grant from the State Library and Archives in the original book form, and they had put in, well, somebody went down there and got a copy for Thomas Harris and recorded it and registered it in the 1978 deed book. It's beautiful. It's in the beautiful handwriting way back there. And a lot of times I find deeds that families have kept them for 50 to 100 years, before they were recorded. And that was so unusual to find that. So you never know what you're going to find when you're reading deeds. And I know that this, I first thought, well, they've had it all these years, but they hadn't because it's got the stamp on there. They went to the State Library and Archives and got it. And they had to turn it sideways in the deed book so it would fit. It's not up and down like most deeds. It was turned sideways. And it says it's certified. He's a certified copy. So it's something to read those deeds. A lot of information in there.
Leave them up there.
On the table. Well, they on the table.
I don't walk good. That red 10 years ago about done me.
That way is on the table when people took
Lay it on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. There it is.
Mary O.
I brought my husband's great grandmother's bonnet. It's
Oh,
black silk, and I have no idea how old it is. She died in 1931, and she worn it nearly all her life. I see it's black silk, and I have a picture of her here wearing it. Her name was Sarah Frances Cunningham Killingsworth, and they called her Fanny all her life. Called her Fanny, and I never got a chance to meet her. Neither did my husband. It was his grandmother, and she passed away before he was born. So he had a step grandmother that he only saw about 3 times in his life. So he never had a grandma. But his grandfather, he was a Baptist preacher and a farmer, and he grew molasses and sold sorghum molasses. I have a letter that, and and I'll have to bring it in sometime. I've been waiting to get an answer for it. Franklin Delano Roosevelt wrote him a letter because he was a pastor and asked him if he could go around to the community and find out different things that the president wanted to know and write him back what the community said. And I'm sure he wrote a letter back. He was that type of man, but I haven't found a copy of the letter yet. And hopefully they have a copy in Roosevelt's library. I'm sure they do.
It's silk,
Yeah,
so would she wear that every day?
he wore it all the time. That was her bonnet.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law, I was blessed to have a wonderful mother-in-law, and she had an old trunk in the kitchen. And I asked her one time, I said, do you care if I look in that trunk? And she says, no, it hasn't been opened in years, but she says, look in there and see what there is. And I found the bonnet, and I found a few other things, and I found something wrapped up in a old rag, and it was wrapped and wrapped and wrapped. And so I started unwrapping it. And when she saw what I was doing, she says, oh, she says, don't let anybody see that. It was a little pint bottle of whiskey. Oh. She was a very strict Baptist. It's for medicinal purposes only. It's never been opened. And it still has never been opened. I kept it.
You still have?
I kept it, and I still have it. It's never been opened. But she had that wrapped up in that trunk. It's no way. So, a story. Anyway, I love those old stories. Thank you.
Susan Driver.
Well, today I brought one of my favorite treasures. And you're thinking that's the ugliest treasure I've ever seen. This is it's just a cheap aluminum bowl, but it was what my mother made bread with. And my mother was very good at bread making. She made all kinds of breads and rolls and biscuits and all that kind of things. And she would use this bowl to proof it, but also sometimes she would bake a loaf of bread in this. And that was my favorite thing. When she would bake in this old beat up bowl, she would take it out of the oven and turn it over on a plate and just kind of crack it open and throw a bunch of butter in it, and you just eat it like that. And so that's why that means a lot to me. One of her favorite recipes is one she came across. It's called Sally Lunn bread. Has anybody heard of that? Okay. Sally Lunn's bread history centers on Bath, England, and it's linked to a legendary Huguenot refugee. Her name was Solange Leon in the 1680s, and then her name was anglicized to Sally Lunn. She popularized a rich brioche-like bun that became a Bath tradition, and then later gained fame in the South. So a lot of people made Sally Lunn bread, and so I wrote copies of the recipe. Everybody would like to have it.
Susan, the recipe for Sally Lunn bread is in the 1970 or 60 or something. Home County Home Demonstration Club.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. That may
That's
be
where
where
I
you got it.
And I used to make
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a scrapbook here that was composed by an aunt of mine who was born in 1905. So she evidently started the scrapbook at a very early age because the first several pages are covered with World War I memorabilia that had been cut from newspapers, probably the Nashville newspaper, because I don't recognize any local names in any of it. But she went on to, up until the 1920s, snipping newspaper articles and pasting them in this book. And here is a few that we made copies of. Since the book is so fragile, we made some copies of some of the things. An auction sale, the Faulkner Springs property. I don't have a date on it, but it's a picture of the old mill. And it goes on to tell about the property and all that. And here is a picture of the Clay Faulkner residence. Same with a cow in the yard, mowing the lawn. And a picture of a old Cadillac automobile that was given by Mr. W.W. Dillon to his daughter, Harriet Dillon. Now, why my aunt collected all of this different stuff, there's fashion stuff, there's history, there's everything in the world in it. And here was a picture of the first woman that ever voted in the state of Tennessee. So there was interest in politics. It was Mrs. Newell Sanders. And a picture of the band that played at the Warren County Fair. I'm not sure of the date on that, but I'm sure it was probably, 1922. There's also a copy of the park in McMinnville. I guess I've dropped it over there. The forming of the park downtown, and it tells all about the ceremonies they had in the park and so forth. So this Bertha Mills Scott, 1905, when she started at a very early age, evidently.
Richard Myers.
Let me just sit here and do this. What I brought in, I sort of jumped ship a little bit. This person we're going to talk about is not from Warren County, but traveled through Warren County a lot. And some of you may remember the name Peckerwood Town. And Peckerwood was very involved in Van Buren County, all the way down to the Warren County line, and spent some time in Warren County also. But some information service all very tall. It was very in the park. In fact, they lived at one time where the Nature Center sits today was their home that they stayed in during the Depression while going to Burke College. But anyway, there's a monument that was put up by the people in the county and different folks. And lengthy newsletters and everything all the way through it, all kinds of stuff you might enjoy it. This is one of the, I got one of the original bags, Peckerwood charcoal, they dedicated the monument. And
Indeed, I helped the mountain folks out.
right, so some of the things he done, and Larry is next, I guess.
Yeah, I remember him.
And
He's one of the heroes of my master's thesis on the Van Buren County School.
Correct.
And the father of the public schools up there.
but he brought when he was in World War II, he brought the ideal back of charcoal, make money, and so we got the community together. They had sort of a co-op, and that's where the name Peckerwood Charcoal comes from. And but it was a cooperative that the whole community, if you worked on it, you could make money at it. And they would take it to the capital in Nashville and sell it behind at the farmer market type thing. And he was friends with Governor Brown. But this again is a picture of the monument. This is a picture of him. In fact, it used to hang in the charcoal. And they took it out when they built the new inn.
This is the old inn and all those old pictures that were in it.
Right. This is the eyeball. Oh, he was also involved, probably, I think one of the most interesting things about it, Van Buren County did not have a high school during this period of time. He ran for superintendent of schools, walked every house in the county, and he usually wore his shoes around his neck, tied strings together, because he said, our house before, and at Newtown out here.
Didn't want to wear them out.
Didn't want to wear them out. That was it. And said if you had a chicken, you're good to go. You had all you need. You didn't need any money, you didn't need anything, just chicken to cook. But he was a preacher and a teacher during this period of time. But the thing that happened, he ran for superintendent of schools with the idea that Van Buren County is a high school. And he won by a landslide. He was got the community together. They bought a tract of timber. They cut the timber, built the building, had a quarry, got the rock out of the quarry, and built the first high school in Van Buren County. And that I think that was a significant milestone.
It definitely was.
And, but this was all going on about the same time that a lot of things we talk about here. But I brought this, you can look at it. I'm going to digitize it for Park Service and give them some more additional information. But he's got a grandson that's still living. It's David in Nashville. I talk to him quite frequently. But he was a unique individual, to say the.
And these are the folks.
Oh, I need to tell who my friends are here. This is my cousin, my sister cousin, from Arkansas.
But we grew up in them.
They grew up. They were called the Taft Girls.
Table for you.
And Gwen is right next door over here with Bernie. I guess I've adopted Bernie, hadn't I? But Gwen's from Knoxville. Both of them have teaching, retired from teaching, and they came down to give my wife a break. And they're doing a good job. They're keeping me out of trouble. But
You might tell them why they called him Judge Taft.
oh, he was all called Judge Taft, and he said that he wanted to be like the judge, Judge Taft or President Taft.
Yeah. President later on appointed Supreme Court Chief Justice.
Right.
We've heard Taft. Last summer we got to go through his birthplace house up in
One of
Cincinnati.
the stories I heard from Bill Baker, Peckerwood or Morris, he had this old station wagon looking thing, and of course there was no good roads really between here and Nashville. But he got his Boy Scouts, and he was a early conservationist, I guess would be, and he was really involved in the Fall Creek Falls and preserving that. And anyway, they went to see Governor Browning, and they were going down to Murfreesboro, and this vehicle had a windshield and no other windows, and it was sparks and stuff blowing out the back because they had a bucket of charcoal sitting in between the seats to stay warm. And so as it goes on, the police stopped them and started questioning, took them back up to the police department and or sheriff's department one, and let's see, if you thought he was nuts, but anyway, you had Bill Baker and one of my uncles, Albert Louise, and there's two or three or several other boys in there, but they all went to Nashville. And anyway, when they got stopped, he said, "Don't I get a phone call?" And they said, "Yes, sir. What do you want to call? Governor Browning? Do you know his number?" He rattled off the number. They called the number, and it was Governor Browning's office. So they were on their way to Nashville. He met with the state to try to get them to buy the property up there. It was for sale, evidently, at that time. And anyway, when the state didn't have the money, he went to Washington, done the same thing, got the Department of Interior to buy the property, and later it would become Fall Creek Falls State Park. It was given back to the state. And that's, some of his escapades is really neat. There's a lot of things in here from
He was a man ahead of his time.
he was.
And you're not always appreciated at the time, but later generations will praise you.
But now he done a lot of good for that community up
He
there,
did.
whole county. And he was unique, believe me.
Do you know what I remember about Uncle Morris? We would line up and he would pull coins out from behind our ears. He was a magician too.
But he was. We had he come by the store out there in Newtown one time, and he had a box, and he brought it in there. He right up to us on the Greyhound or Trailways bus, and stopped at the store and let him out. He come out there and he says, "Come here." And he says, "Talk into this microphone." And he turned the switch on, and talking to it, and it talked back to me and repeated me. And it was a wire recorder. And that was one of the early recording devices. And he come from surplus property. He got gas mask covers for everybody in the county. The reason they got them was for schools, actually, to take care of their books and put their meal in it for lunch. And it's just all kinds of stuff like that. And I was proud to be a Taft, let's put it that way. That's about all I got, unless you got questions.
Gail Woodley. And when I started trying to get something for show and tell this time, I always think I have to get something out. Look in here. It's laying around my house and I was it up with something. And I thought, well, maybe I can use something new that has something old in it. And it'll inspire some other people to do something similar fun. My mother's family, the Oscar and Mary Mae's family, has gotten together on Christmas Eve, beginning in 1945, every year for this past Christmas. Of course, the ones that were there to begin with were no longer there. And the ones this year are grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren. And a lot of those people don't know Oscar and Mary Mae's. So my sister has gotten the job of being the family historian, genealogist, whatever you want to call her. And so each year they expect her to come up with something to tell them about the family. And this year she did this booklet that we found, a day book that my grandfather, Oscar Mays, kept in 1939. And she made copies of information from that and about their life as a family, and made a booklet for everybody to have so that the ones who never knew their grandparents could learn about them. He was quite the record keeper, even though he only had a fourth grade education, but he thought education was important. In 1939, in March, he took an option on a place from C.C. Askew, and in April, he took an option on a farm from J.B. Paris, and that's the farm he bought that my cousin lives on out on the Viola Road today. And he paid $5,000. And that was certainly a leap of faith, because we think that's not much money, but in today's money, it's over $100,000. So think about somebody at that age
and at that time taking out that much of a loan to have a home. He also kept records of testing his cows by their name and the milk content of the butter content of their milk, so they could know how to sell those. The higher the butter fat, the more they got for their milk. He also has records of what he spent on the house that they built. He added the basement, and that cost $35. He extended the porch by 8 feet, and that was $14. He raised the house 1 foot, and it was $6. He moved the kitchen door, and it was 75 cents. And he put in a screen door, and it was 35 cents. So he was really diligent in keeping in records. So we hope this is something that will become a family treasure, and that the people who don't remember their grandparents or never knew them will take this little booklet, learn about them, and keep them alive.
Walker Slaughter.
So we don't know a lot about this gun. This is on my husband's father's side, the Slaughter family side. We have done the lineage on this, but we haven't like taken it in to get, properly looked at or cleaned. But there is an inscription in the middle part where it looks like the initials. It potentially might be J.E. Slaughter, which was buried at the Hill Cemetery here in McMinnville, and he actually was in the World War II era, and so I can't confirm that that's what this is. We're hoping that's what it is, but this is one of the many things, and it's pretty much almost intact because we talked to Mr. Haley when we first got it. The only thing that's missing is the
Rod.
that puts the
Gunpowder down.
yeah, and but Walker, when I told him I was coming to show and tell, he said, "Mama, let's bring it," because he wanted to show it off. And so, but if anybody knows anything, because we've gone back, we've done the genealogy as far back as the 1800s for us, but we don't know. This might be in that time frame, but with the inscription that we saw, it looks like JD without cleaning it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what we wanted to show you, some of our family stuff.
Frida Clifton.
Well, I know I've talked about this before, a little bit, but I've got my own now. This is a yearbook from Pleasant Hill Academy. And this is a school up in White County. There used to be a school building there where my grandmother, Mary Ethel Golden Grandy, graduated in 1819. And I did not know, none of us knew that she had actually graduated from school until our cousin Tim Grandy happened upon this at a history fair. I didn't even know they had history fairs, but he was a history teacher. And so he discovered this. And so Susan, my cousin Susan, went online and she found a copy and ordered this yearbook. And so when I was staying with her for a short time, when I first moved here, I read it from front to back. It was so interesting. But she wouldn't let me have her copy. Forever I'm in. So my children ordered me one off of Amazon. And this belonged to Patsy Anderson, I'm assuming, because it says return to her. And it has notations and things in this. But it's really fascinating how the school began there in the foothills of the, the Cumberland Plateau area, the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. And the American Missionary Society out of Boston, Massachusetts, sent missionaries to that area. And I know that Dodge Hall was one of the gentlemen who was a minister there at Pleasant Hill. And they needed to start a school for the children in that area because there were no real schools, no real good education for them. And so at some point down through the history of the missionaries that were sent from the American Missionary Association, one of the ladies of the house who had small children she was just not happy at all with the educational system in that area. So she went back to with the support of some of the local ladies, she went back to Boston, Massachusetts, and she pleaded her case in front of the American Missionary Association. And so then they sent teachers to this area. And some of those teachers, when you read this book, it talks about the different teachers. The stories are written by alumni from that school. There's alumni from Mount Pleasant that went to, I know in the beginning of the book it said at least 35 states, and they all seem to have these really important jobs. But this book is full of stories from those people of their experience there at this school. And so at one time, the school became more than the American Missionary Association could support. So that is when they decided that, and it was a boarding school, kids would come and board there. So, and the tuition was too high for a lot of the local residents. So they decided to make it a working school. And so they taught everything there. They taught how to farm, they taught carpentry, they taught nutrition, they taught cooking, they taught canning, preserving, sewing, you name it, everything. They even had music teachers come and they taught dancing, and they had a dance group that traveled all over the United States advertising this school. And the school was so well, some of the professors actually came from overseas because they were trying to escape the Nazi, regime and the things that were going on in Europe. And so they came, and they would come to America, and the American Missionary Association would send them. So they had people that would send them to Pleasant Hill to the school to teach. So they had teachers there that were professors of all kinds of, just scientists of all kinds and everything there. Some really great faculty. And also that included the arts and the music as well. So, but anyway, the graduates of this school were so, they were so unique and so intelligent and so prepared that the chancellor of the University of Tennessee, if you graduated from Pleasant Hill Academy, you were automatically admitted to the university because they knew what quality of graduates they had at Pleasant Hill. That is really interesting. I just saw you. It's another connection. So it's really interesting because to me, especially since I've taught school for 41 years, I find anything about schools fascinating, I guess. But this is a picture of the graduate class that my grandmother's in. And she is right smack dab in the middle on the front row, Mary Ethel Brandy. And then her sister Magnolia also graduated a little bit older or later, I can't remember. But anyway, just a few years difference in them. So I found my grandmother's picture in there. And that's what tipped us off that she actually did graduate, and because she never talked about it. But I'm sure that's where we learned to make the bread in the aluminum pan, because my grandmother paid her tuition or her way by helping in the kitchen. And she was like a pastry cook. So I can remember her making, she never used a recipe, but I can remember she made cakes that wherever she went, like those covered dish dinners, and she would bring a cake which it didn't look all that great. But everybody grabbed it first. I always said grandmother's cakes looked like she threw them against the wall and caught them on the way down. But they also had a dairy farm, and so everything was real butter, real cream, the raw milk stuff, everything. And then she would make her icing out of the juices from some of the fruits that they
grew in their orchards, she would make a little icing out of that. Oh, they were so good. Oh, but anyway, the other thing I was going to say, oh, when she would make her cake, she didn't have a recipe. So she would make, just, make it up, whatever she knew what it needed. She'd make it in a little pan, cook it if it turned out okay, then she'd make a big cake out of that. So this just reminds me, and you're probably not really interested in this, but it's really personal and it's always something I think about. So another cousin and I, Phyllis, Brandy, we were in the kitchen and we were like middle school age. And so we decided we're going to whip up a cake. And of course, we used a recipe. We didn't have all that knowledge, but Grandma kept her salt and her sugar in these crystal bowls, like, you know what I'm talking about, the old crystal bowls. And so we put 2 cups of salt in the cake. And they had a farmhand that was working there, and he came in, and of course, we were all just swooning over him anyway. And so we said, okay, try this piece of cake. It looked great. It looked beautiful. He took a bite or two and he said, oh, it was so good, just went on and on. And so when he left the room, we decided we'd take a bite of cake. Oh my goodness. He had lied, that's for sure. But anyway, if you're interested, also there is an index in the back. And that was another thing I found when I went through this, that I recognize a lot of the last names. So I was looking for other family members, but you might have a family member that actually graduated from Mount Pleasant School. And so this is a great read. And like I said, I'm so excited to get this for a Christmas present for my kids. Yes, ma'am.
I don't tell something I remember, and I don't remember much.
Okay.
You're telling about your grandmother.
Uh-huh.
So your mother was a Grizzle. Was a Grizzle. She married a Grizzle. She married my uncle. But she was a Grandy, Aunt Laura. And what I remember, like I said, I don't remember much, but I remember my mother saving bacon grease and giving to Aunt Laura, and she made the soap.
Right. My mother had learned a lot from her mom. She made lye soap, and it finally got to where she could, because she used, in later years, she used Drano, the lye, and, like Drano. And it got to where she couldn't buy that. So she had the whole community down in Franklin County where we live go into the store. She couldn't buy enough at one time. So she had, you go get a bottle and you go get a bottle, and then she would save it until she had enough to make her life up. Yeah, she did. And she also raised a lot of herbs, because my grandmother Grandy also was an herbalist and a florist and had a greenhouse. And so she had taught Mother and my Aunt Ruth a lot about plants. And so my mother had over 170 herbs growing in her yard. And she would make all kinds of concoctions. So she the doctors she even had a couple of doctors come and spend the day with her to learn about the herbs, because, they knew Miss Laurel was good at that. Well, she even cured a few people's gum disease with a special powder that they would brush with, and their toenail fungus. I wish I had that recipe. Well, she did all kinds of stuff like that, but she learned that from her mom. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, can I make a comment? And I want to thank you so much for bringing up that school up there, because it has a lot of history in my family. My wife's dad and family lived right next to the Pleasantville Academy. Her grandmother actually worked in the cafeteria there. But prior to that, my grandfather, which lived almost in DeKalb County, when he was 14, 15-year-old, decided to go to Pleasantville Academy. So it was almost a 30-mile trip up there, because that was the higher education in the area.
Uh-huh.
And so he would either hike or catch a ride or walk. And so when he got up there, the entrance exam, he was so smart in math, they put him to teaching math.
Oh, wow.
To help pay for the rest of his tuition. So he would stay during whatever the semester was, and then he'd hike or walk back down there. In doing so, that one school right there, as you said, spread out right there. When he came back to White County, almost in DeKalb County right there, he started his own university called Hutchins College. University, which was similar, but I'm sure not as advanced. But for everyone in that part of the county down there, it was their junior college. And
Right.
so I know that he averaged 100 students staying there or living there for years until he became a state senator, and then loved public education so much, went and pushed for public education and put him out of business. But before that hand right there, he graduated people that went to Tennessee Tech and were professors, went to UT and were professors. So that, you never know, that one thing right there, that domino packed it down and networked
right.
around.
Yeah.
And so thank you for bringing that.
Well, he may have an article in here.
I bet his picture in there.
I'm gonna lay this up on the table so that you
Thank
can look at it. Thanks.
Those are hard to follow. My wife couldn't be here today, but she maybe something to share with you. Her mother, her great grandmother, was Sally Duncan Cardwell, and they lived in a Victorian house in Viola, big, beautiful Victorian house. This came out of the house in the mid-1800s. It's called a germain plate, and I guess it's a hot plate. It's pretty. This came out of her great grandmother's house. And then I have something that I did not grow up in Warren County. I grew up in Gibson County, which is Trenton, Tennessee. And I was raised by my grandparents. They were farmers. And I would go to the courthouse, and there was an old man who was blind. And I became friends with this old man when I was 6 years old. I was amazed. He would make things and build things. And so he built this for me. We became good friends. And he told me he went to the Tennessee School of the Blind. And what's really amazing is I've been able to keep this. I'm not 6 anymore. So this has been over 60 years I've had this. And I've moved many times and I've been able to keep it. But this old man carved this for me. And I've treasured it all these years. Very good. That's all I got.
Larry Boyd.
I took a science field last night, so I'm about halfway here. But I am a collector. And I found all the things I collected of any value just would disappear. So I collect things that I hope other people won't. I started collecting when the Southern Standard made a uniform size of their obituaries. It made it easy to clip them out, and they were all about the same size. Gradually, they get bigger and bigger. So this is a box of, and I've got one earlier. This was from 2014 to last year. And then when the new paper took over, they don't have a standard size with the name and everything on it. So I've got them organized by years, and I enjoyed saving them. But someday somebody's going to throw all this stuff away. So would our group be interested in preserving it? Would you have space for it? If not, if they're not that important, they're all newspaper online.
Cheryl Mingle at the library. She
The library, they have a lot of obituaries there.
She collects obituaries
Digitalized.
too. She might be interested in things that you have.
What was the year you said it started?
Mhm.
What year did you start collecting them?
Well, I first started on this project in about 1979, and I had a little red ledger, and I filled it up, and it went to 2005. And then I started just doing it on the computer, printed it off by year. So I should have most of those. But my ledger disappeared. When Sweetie had new carpets put in, everything had to move. And I don't know if it's still somewhere in storage or if it's gone with the wind. But that's all I had to say today.
Bonnie Davis.
Oh, okay. Hi.
My name's Bonnie Davis. My husband back there, Steve, is saying, I had something picked out to bring, and he suggested this. So I will bring out this. Let me get the little sheet of paper. This is very tiny, and I know you can't see it, but a 1938 Flexi doll, Fanny Bryce, and Fanny Bryce was a real person. She played characters Baby Snooks, and Barbara Streisand did a movie called Funny Girl in 1968, and where she did Fanny Bryce. And the doll is composition with a wire mesh torso. And I'm going to scoot the little pictures over right here so I have a place to go with Fanny Bryce. And she still has her tag on her. And when you see her up close, you'll notice the cracks in the composition is usually like sawdust or corn shucks because it predates any kind of plastic or anything. So for her age, she's in really, really good shape. And let's see here if I can fix this. The whole thing. She's featured in the spring of 2024 Doll News, which is put out by the United Federation of Doll Clubs. They have a big museum like in Kansas. This issue came out in the spring. About 2 weeks later, I went to a doll show, and there she was. So I've got that. And I thought that might be something. On the back of the postcard, which was published by the United Federation of Doll Clubs, it just says 12-inch, made by the company Ideal Flexi doll, circa 1938. And then, of course, the magazine says 1938. And I put that right there. So hopefully that'll be something that you hadn't seen before, because I certainly had not seen one up close. And now, let me get this out. I don't think that I've ever brought this before or showed it. I've had it for a long time. It is The Art of Flower Arrangement, illustrated with 150 photographs. And it was published originally in 1947 and reprinted in February 1951. And in 1953, it was presented to Frances Womack by the Garden Club here in McMinnville, because she had a first prize, a second prize, and it's signed by everyone.
Is it
Starting
Bill
with Frances Prater, Irene Miller, Melville Fraley, Sue Smith. Keep in mind these may be maiden names based on the date. Virginia Locke, Lola Flatt, Hazel Pistol, Christine Penny, Loretta Quinn, Louise Strick, Jimmy Lewis, Marie Miller, Arnella Mulligan, Pauline Barnes, Eleanor Boyd, and it looks like something there. I won't try. Ray Boyd, Janie Bragg, and Peggy Jennings. And one name might be a Michael. Won't swear to that. So when you look, please look. You may see some of your family members there. And they chose this, it looks like with great care, to give to Frances Womack for her prize. So I'll stand there right there and y'all can look at that too. And that's all I've got. Yeah. Actually, it says Garden Club first prize, Garden Club second prize.
It was Ben Lomond though. I know it was because Louise Strick was in, I mean, all those women were.
Right, I can't remember all those women. Just imagine all those women in the same room with that book.
And that's all I have.
Lynette Moore.
Well, I brought this to show my cousin Frida. Oh, my.
Gorgeous.
Got my name on it. Oh, wow, this quilt. It's a Dutch quilt. Well, my mother had it made when I was little, and she asked both of my grandmothers, all of my girl first cousins. This is before you were born, so you're not included.
You're included in mine now. But it ain't like that.
Well, okay. So anyway, this has Frida's mother.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
All of my aunts made a block. But my mother didn't, and.
You can hold it up.
Pardon?
You can hold it up.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Because my cousin's daughter, Karen Young, is here today, and her daughter. So her mother has gone here too.
That is precious.
Here's our grandmother's block.
Oh.
Use good fabric when you're making a quilt.
Yep.
You want to know something about it? Because here's a hand for you. I'm looking for Ruth Long. And Janelle, it's Janelle Golden. Jane is her mother. This is my granny Wanda. And Real, my granny Wanda. Bill and Bill. Judy and Bill.
Yeah. But that wasn't her name.
No, this is my mother's block. This is Amber's block.
This is real cheap.
And that's Grandma Jean Young that just passed away.
You've got it up until I get the one that Janelle wants here.
And fact. His papers are always being.
Yeah.
So, she's on that.
I don't know.
Shirley.
Without this deteriorated Carolyn, I think.
Everybody's like Sarah.
Turns, so they can say, here's the.
I'm right away.
Will you get Lynette?
Okay,
What is there? What is there?
Okay.
Yeah. So the history of the quilt is my mother made the blocks, and I think I put them together. I was pregnant with my first son, who was born in 1974. And I never did finish the project. My mother-in-law took it over, and my mother-in-law quilted it. So it's involving my mother and my mother-in-law. And then we had a great aunt on my husband's side, Aunt Love, that did the binding around the edge. So this is my children have loved it. My grandchildren love it.
What do you say the pattern?
Pardon?
What's the
It's a
pattern?
Dutch girl, isn't
Six size, it's got a parasol. Yeah, that,
it? Okay.
yeah,
I
it
could
would
be
be
wrong.
great to find out what the pattern is. And they're holding the flowers.
So you don't think a Dutch girl would do that?
No, very well. The Dutch girl was, much simpler. Let me take a picture and look it up on Google.
So Bernie, what is your dog? Where did you quit?
A son, I think, pattern.
I can go home and get it.
It's
No,
a
if you
chat
notice that
GPT says this is a sunbonnet
uniform.
suitable for having.
Well, somebody, okay, so keep right.
Bonnet, she's found sun bonnet suit quilt pattern.
Okay.
It says a very classic and beloved tradition. It's the little girl figure with a bonnet, dress, and umbrella.
Yes.
Is the signature of a sun bonnet suit.
And so, really, if mother asked them to make the block, you know, she might not have given them the pattern. They came up with their own pattern. Or
This umbrella right here is very different from this umbrella. Everybody's got different flowers.
And everyone would have done their own
And this
material.
umbrella has the scallops in it. And this one,
And then that one down there that's amazing. Oh, that one's straight across.
this one actually has the top on the umbrella. I don't know if you can see it where the umbrella goes through and it has the little knob.
It's just
So you saw grandmother's block.
Oh, yeah.
It was priceless.
Beautiful. Greatest block. And Aunt Ruth, we found Aunt Ruth Wammel.
And Ethel's down here, Aunt Jane. Here's Jean. And
Here's Aunt Ruth Wammel.
She was beautiful.
You're
My grandmother.
your grandmother and your
My
grandmother.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm gonna come to your house one of these days. Get it away.
I've learned something.
I'll have to bring my wheel. Well, I fixed it or see it. Yeah. It's still got the tag on it, but it's for Bernadette. It was made about when I was born. It's got name, though. It's got your name and my name. That's the way it's folded where I can see your name and my name. But I think it says mother on it and it says I. And I don't know what other people right now, because I ain't looked that close. But it's not like that. Well, I know that the dolls are right getting it. I can't remember now, but I'll look at that.
Have we missed anyone?
I didn't sign up.
Okay.
I was busy. I usually like to bring something from the Warren County Archives because a lot of people don't even realize we have a Warren County Archives. So last month, I received a call from the archivist at Peabody College. And he said, I have 2 McMinnville Enterprise newspapers from 1867. Well, I knew there were only a handful that had ever been scanned, and these 2 have never been scanned. So these are the only ones I assume. They're from 1867. I haven't scanned them yet. I've just put them in papers. They will get scanned eventually and be made available. But I just thought people would like to know that we get things all the time. There's lots of treasures in our Warren County Archives that people can research or find out about. I'm just going to lay them right here.
And hold still a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Can you tell me again who they were gifted from?
They came, the archivists at Peabody College.
Peabody.
Mhm.
Yes. Do we have anyone else? That concludes our show and tell.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for participating. We've got a beautiful collection of things up here. I hope you'll all come up and look them over. And just thank you all for coming. It's been really great. Don't forget. Yes, thank you very much.